Hello and welcome to another edition of Glenmorach Lane, The Little Bill. So in today's episode, we're going to be having quite a closer inspection of some of the more technical modifications that have been done to the layout since the last update. We're going to be taking a look at the canopies and specifically around the distillery area. There has been huge improvements and work has cracked on at some pace. There was another update filmed, but unfortunately, due to the camera completely and utterly failing, the footage was almost unusable. So I do apologise for the delay, but yeah, we're here now and we're going to crack on. So we might as well start off down here at the station complex, the main station complex. So you can see we've got two canopies now. There has been further detail added to the platforms. We've now got benches, as we've said many times, benches, lots of benches, plenty of places to sit and enjoy the view. The canopy kits have been pretty much kit bashed beyond recognition in order to get what we needed out of them. Basically, the laser cut kits, each one of these, like one section this big, is one canopy kit. So there's 3 full complete canopy kits in this one, and there are 2 and a bit, 2.5 canopy kits in this one, because obviously this platform starts to taper off and is slightly shorter, so we figured that it'd probably be better just cutting the canopy a little bit shorter. We've removed the legs and we've replaced the legs with some plastic tubing to replicate tubed support columns as opposed to square support columns. You just don't see square support columns, so we figured it'd be more prototypical to retrofit them. We've also then added some lights. Now, basically, we've used some plastic square tubing, cut into sections with some very, very small LEDs fitted. I'll put it up on screen, the exact size we've used. I think they're 0406, 0403, something like that. They're very, very small anyway. And it's been fiddly, really fiddly to fit them. However, as you can see, the outcome is absolutely superb. Now, this one is almost complete paint. This one is still in primer and requires its white detailing and the blue edges. Both canopies will also be getting guttering kits. Now, I believe it's Wills. Is it Wills? I think it's Wills that produce the kit. So we're going to be putting all the guttering and the downpipes on these at a later date. As far as the platform ends are concerned, we've added 2 extra lights, one either side. They're now wired up. The station building's now wired up. The detailing on the actual platforms at the back where the station is now pretty much complete. Obviously, we've got to put in the litter bins are in, pack it, any rubbish on the floor. Weathering is a big one. These haven't been weathered yet. The other platform has, this one hasn't. So it's still waiting on its weathering. Right, so moving on. We'll take a look at the refueling section. Now, in the refueling section, we've got 2 fueling points. We've got a large one and a small one. We've added yard lights all the way down there. We originally put some different ones in, but Andy wasn't overly happy with the aesthetics of them, so we've changed them now for these new ones, which match the yard lights that are over by the shed. We think they do look much better than the originals, to be fair. Yeah, I'm going to give a shout out now to somebody who I deem as being one of the better modelers out there, and he's won awards multiple years on the trot now. Charlie from Chadwick Model Railway. I'll leave a link to his channel in the description. He added these kits, which are from West Hill Wagon Works, to light up these, but I went a few steps further than he did. In my view, we cut out the original lights that were there and I've replaced them like for like. He reduced them down to 3, but I've kept them as 5 in the main building, and I think I've put 2 in the smaller one. We wired them up by, again, these are very small micro LEDs, and we used a bit of U-channel, plastic U-channel, and we just ran the cables all together and tight and ran them round, and then covered them with grey primered U-channel. So you can pretty much hardly tell where the wiring is. It's almost completely disappeared. It looks a bit more prototypical. I mean, this was probably designed around an existing shed that would have had 5 lights hanging from the ceiling, so I've stuck to the 5 to keep it pretty much similar. However, this has added another level to the lighting aspect of this layout when it's run without the lights on. The idea being we want to get this lit to the standard it would be in the real world, so that when you turn off the main light in here, the entire layout can still be seen and used in the dark with all the lights on. To that end, as you can see, the access road that comes down here with the gate at the top here, we've added all the street lights which would normally be there. These all work. They're actually functional. They're not very bright, and the reason for that is because they wouldn't be in real life. These big yard lights would be way more brighter than the little street lights. So, you know, we've balanced it. We've been using resistors underneath to actually, different value resistors underneath to vary the lighting conditions. And I will show you an example of where we've not done that and it needs to be done later on in the update. So, we've covered the station, we've covered the fueling depot. Let's move on to the shed, signal box and mess hall. Okay, so we're now looking at the TMD area. This is the actual shed and mess hall and signal box. We are almost complete at this end as well now, pending ballasting, which is pretty much what the whole layout is pending now. Ground cover wise, anything that's left on show now is pretty much ballast or roughage, which obviously gets added after the ballast. Now in the shed area, we have added some lights. Now unfortunately, they've not quite worked out as we planned. They are 12-volt bulbs. Everything on here is LED, with the exception of that shed. We didn't realise they were 12-volt when we bought them. They looked exactly like what we wanted, but unfortunately they were 12-volt. And when we've wired them up, some of them have actually started to fail. As a result, I would say about 50% of them now are not at full brightness. So probably we've ordered some more from China, and come New Year, I'll be stripping that back out and replacing them for LEDs. It's just not good enough, so we're going to change that. As you can see, we've now got the 2 shed lamps, the yard lights in place. They had adequate lighting for that entire area now. As for the signal box, it's complete with its interior and a signal box man, and we have LED lights in so that it can be seen at night. And the mess hall at the back is lit up but has no internals yet. We're debating whether it is going to have internals or not. I don't know whether we are going to bother or not, purely for access point. It was very difficult to get to. The signal box was quite interesting to create and build. The internals was a full kit. The box isn't big enough to completely fill the internals on it, so we've had to cherry pick out of the kit what the bits that we want to use. But it's gone together nicely. It looks okay through the windows, which don't have any glass in, which I didn't realise at the time and forgot about. Not that it matters much because you can't really tell. But paving wise, we've got the pavements going up to it now. We've got the hard standing section around that area. Again, there's still a lot of detail to go into this. Once the ballasting's done, that's when the actual real detail comes in. So we're just looking at getting the build complete first, then we're going to hit the detail. But yeah, the TMD area now, both parts of the TMD area are pretty much build complete. A few minor things to go in. Basically, signalling is a big thing on this section of the layout. None of the signalling's been started down here. However, the signalling over by the distillery is well on its way, and that's where we're going next. Right, so we're over here at the distillery now. Now this has seen the most attention and the most work in order to get it to completion, because it is an incredibly difficult thing to do. It's a lift up flap, so when we lift it up and it goes into its upright position, it's right up against the wall, so anything that stands over a certain height has to be removable. Now in the last update we talked about the magnets with the little connections on. These are absolutely amazing. We've used them in multiple places. We've used them here, and we've also used them on the bridge to connect the bridge. I'll come to that, back to that in a minute, but I just wanted to show you this piece here. This is all one piece. Now, it's a piece of hardboard underneath, if you can see. And then on top of that, we've layered it to get it up to the same height as the rest of the layout. And this fits in this section here, underneath, obviously behind here, in order to make it all one piece. And it basically just fits very easily, like this. There we go. And it creates the illusion of it should be there. It literally should be there. There's no lighting on it, so there's no reason for any magnets. There's no reason for any electrical connections, because nothing's lit on it, which made it a little bit simpler. Again, the devil's in the detail, as you can see. We have the chimney built. Andy's done a wonderful job of painting this up to match the brickwork of the main brewery building, distillery building. I'm gonna keep calling it brewery. There's a little wall at the back that's been installed now, which you can just see there. And we also have the tree, the rather large tree that's gone in here to try and just fill this gap in that was here. He's done a wonderful job of creating overgrowth and shrubbery over the top of the tunnel portals, which are fully painted and weathered, and they're ready to go. We've still got a little bit of card showing through there, so we're going to have to deal with that. And here again, this is hard standing, but especially around here, when we get the ballasting in and all this is all stoned up around here, this should disappear. We've added the trunking on this section now, which is all running all the way back. We've got the relay boxes, and we've now got signalling. Now there is one more signal to install in this section, which is going to be the ground signal for these points here. This line runs off this signal, and it would have been originally going into a tunnel portal and off to the other side of those hills. But it's a disused line now, and that one's been bricked up. So this still has its active working signal. This line here is controlled through this signal, and this line here is controlled through this signal with a feather. Again, we have 3 relay boxes. Now, from my understanding, there was pretty much 1 relay box for every single item of track work. So there's a relay box for this, a relay box for that point, and a relay box for that point. And these 2 relay boxes here are active for this one, and that relay box there is for this point. So as you can see, we've kept it 1 relay box for every track item. The trunking terminates here, but it has to be run all the way through to the signal box. So the next job now is going to be figuring a way of getting the trunking from here down to the signal box, across here, probably maybe down here. We're going to look at some way of doing it and get it down to the bottom. We have the last signal installed here, which is for traffic following this way. So obviously, if there's something in the station that needs to cross over onto this line, with it only being a single platform station, would require being halted there to allow something to come this way. As far as the lighting is concerned on here now, we are fully complete. Oh, back to what I was saying earlier. If you take a look at this light here, you can see that is way brighter than all the rest of the lights everywhere. Way, way, way brighter. The resistor that's on here is a higher value, or a lower value, I can't remember which way it is, than the rest of the lighting. So we're going to need to make an adjustment to the resistor on that. And unfortunately, I made a bad call and covered it in hot glue. So it's probably going to have a full rewire, which is going to be blooming awkward, but I'll show you that in a minute. So anyway, as you can see, we have the distillery building. It now has a back on it. And internally, we've dressed it with brickwork and flooring, so that when we do eventually put scenery inside here, which is coming very soon, you'll be able to look through the windows and actually physically see people inside and objects, so it won't just be a building. And it literally just drops on. Now there are these magnets here, so you do have to get it lined up, but as soon as it does and it drops on, the lighting comes on. Well, most of it does anyway. The centre section isn't lighting up. It might not even be switched. Oh, there we go. See? So basically you drop it into place and it lights up. Now the footbridge, we've completed that now. Currently sits on plinths. Underneath the plinth, we have the wiring from these lights into these magnetic clips. We have a male and female. One's got the little prods on, one's got the pads. So you've got male and female on this side. So the one with the prods goes into the one with the pads, and it literally just drops on like that, and they light up. So that is basically how we've done it. Now, the station building has the same thing. It has a little LED. We cut a hole in the bottom there. We cut the hole in the bottom. We went inside. It's a Metcalf kit, this, and an old one at that. Inside, it's now got a couple of LEDs, and it's got this magnetic thing on. So basically, as it's dropped on, it drops into place and lights up. Okay, so further modifications were made to the lighting in the cottage side, the station master's house. We originally had one of these lamps here lighting up this path. However, when we came to light up the whole section, we decided it would probably be better off to use a different type of lamp, so that, you know, we can separate the areas. You know, that's the distillery area. With all the lamps in the distillery area are roughly the same and match, and then we've got the street lamps which are lighting up the pathways down to the TMD. So in this section here, we've fitted 4 along the back wall here to lead it for this path here. I'm going to have to cut some of this undergrowth back a bit, I think, but to lead to the path that runs down here and across and over to the signal box. And we have the secondary path here, which leads to the fueling depot along here. Now, there is a fueling tank to be fitted here. Now, the tank's on order. It's expected next week at some point. At that point, we'll be able to complete the path from the bridge through to the TMD and getting into the TMD area once we've positioned this fueling tank that's going to go here somewhere. And that completes the above board stuff. This is the lift up side of the hatch. As you can see, it's very, very close to the wall, and looking down you can see the lights are all still there, but just not quite touching the wall, which is why we've had to make a lot of the scenery removable. Now, in the last episode we went through this. This is your point controller, this is your main bus, point motors, and over here we have the lighting control unit. Now, this is yet another model railway company, the YD8116 switch. Basically, you can make this do a whole fantastic set of things, from light switching on and off to activating point motors to activating winches, whatever you want to do on your railway. This thing is very, very versatile. Unlike its predecessor, this particular unit is set up via computer and laptop, and you get to go in and pick and choose which fitting you would like on it. Now, glaringly, there's 2 great big spaces here. Big space here. Now, this is going to be specifically for 2 very important things. There's 2 pieces of equipment missing from this, which are going to be the next things that we're going to tackle. We need 2 on this lift up flap, and we also need 2 on the rest of the layout over there. And they are block detection and signal control equipment. Now, these are the wires coming from the signals that are already installed. So you've got one there, and this wire in here will be run, will be run down to a control unit here, and then there'll be block detection wires that will be installed and run to a unit here. So we still have a reasonable amount of work to do on this section. As far as the wiring is concerned, we're putting things in rough at the moment. It looks pretty neat, but we're going to tidy this up substantially once the wiring is complete. I'm quite happy with the way that it's being run at the moment, but I reckon I can get, especially things like the street lighting wire here, I can get this neater. So we'll be looking at that again at a later date. And that light I was telling you was too bright, as you can see. I used a blob of hot glue to hold everything in place, and then realised that the resistor that we fitted there, we need to change for something that will bring the actual power of the light down a little bit so it's not as bright. But yeah, that's the basic upshot of the underside of this board, how it's advanced fitting lighting, and there's still work to do on it. Now, one of the main things that we did do recently was we modified this point. Now, originally, before we put the bridge in place and everything else, this point here, the actual mechanism there, was where that tape is, and it ended up slap bang right in the middle of where we were putting the bridge, because we hadn't decided a location for the bridge when we installed the point. And we've subsequently had a few issues with some of the locos going over that point and derailing, and it was right royally annoying Andy when he was trying to do his running sessions, to a point where he just simply had enough. So the decision was made, we're going to make some modifications. So what we've done is we've gone from a medium point to a short point, and we've moved it forward so that we now have the ability to make some modifications should we need to do so. If the point ever needed a new motor or anything like that, it's far easier to work on when it's outside of the bridge rather than under the bridge. And the reliability of this section of track now has gone through the roof. It's running perfectly. We're not getting any derailments from any of the locos now. What we've tend to find is the Bachmann Class 47s are struggling over certain aspects of this layout now. When you Google it, a lot of people have been having problems because of the middle wheel set. And we think that's what that problem, going over that point, they were derailing all the time. The smaller locos, Class 37s, the 26 to 27, even the 56 to some degree, the 08, they're all, and the DMU, we're getting over this, no problem. But for some reason, the 47 and occasionally the 56 were derailing. Now they're triple wheel sets, so six wheels on each bogie, and we think the centre wheels were causing a problem. Now that we've made this modification, that problem's not there. It's just simply not there. That's a little bit more in-depth look at how we're dealing with the electronic side of things and the actual build. As you can see, I've gone into a lot more detail than the standard layout update that Andy does. So if this is your bag, I'll be back once we get the next units in, the track detection and the signal controls, where we'll start to look at the actual automation of the layout, the signal automation and local automation. That will be in the next episode. In the meantime, look forward to Andy's layout update. That's coming very soon. And also we have two specials coming out. We've got a look at the fleet. That's an interesting special. And we've got a full running session special coming as well. So if you want to like and subscribe, you were doing us a massive favour. If you like the video, the algorithms pick it up, and that helps us massively get a larger viewership. And if you press the subscribe button, you'll be informed as and when we put layout updates out, which would be pretty useful if you're interested in knowing what we're going to do next. On another note, I'd like to let you all know we have something we need to reveal. This layout, Glenmorach Lane, is a Scottish theme layout based in the hills of Scotland. Me and Andy are also working on a second layout that is for display purposes that will be taken out and about. This layout's obviously well rammed in a cupboard under the stairs. This isn't coming out and going on display, that's for sure. But the other layout is. The layout's been built and we're looking to launch the YouTube channel very shortly. We're trying to decide whether to tag it to this channel and just run it through this channel, or whether to give it its own individual channel. But there will be some updates on that very soon. It's due for its first outing in June next year. I'm not going to reveal anything just yet because we've not had official. We've been told it's going, but I've not had official confirmation just yet. But we've been filming that for the last 2 years. So It's an interesting build, and it's quite large, and it's a lovely layout. So Deep Glen is coming soon, so keep your eye out for that. So that's it for today. We're wrapping up the show. Like and subscribe, as I said earlier, and I'll see you next time. Take care.